What is going on, everybody? This morning we got a little bit more of an informal one because yesterday I said that, we're talking about comment section experts. And one of the things I am trying to do, first of all, I don't know if you've noticed this, but I have not been in the comment section much lately because I'm like, nah, I'm just going to let it go and let people kind of work those things out for themselves. No point in adding stress to myself and also to anybody else. So if you have a legitimate question or if you have something that you want to talk about legitimately that makes sense, because I always invite that, right? But no point in going down there and trying to prove anybody wrong or tell anybody that they're wrong even when they are wrong and you don't have to prove it. That kind of deal. So one of the things I said yesterday in this video, or in the morning video, was let's see if there's anything that you came up with that that maybe I've been wrong about. I don't remember how I worded it, but basically just like that I've needed to, that I've said that is incorrect that I needed. Oh, I know what it was. Something that I've held, like a belief that I've held in spite of there being other advice out there or whatever, kind of doing what people do in the comments. Well, you think that you've thought this for a long time and it's not exactly true. So you're doing the same thing that you're talking about. Okay, makes a lot of sense. So I figured let's do that, and if anybody comes up with anything, I'm happy to talk about it because that's good. That's good to do, right? It's just a little self-awareness situation. I think that's awesome. Most of the comments yesterday were like, yeah. Most of the comments yesterday were like, yeah, I've been doing stuff a long time and I still don't know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like just kind of humorous kind of stuff. Plump Weasel says, I watch the Trogley channel. He's quite the Gibson fanboy, but almost always finds cosmetic defects in the guitars he reviews. So it seems Gibson will become a Walmart brand if they continue to ignore their QC issues. Yeah, it's interesting because I have never, I'm not saying I've never seen that, but the frequency with which I see issues with Gibson guitars is not a lot. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't see them as much as everybody else does. Jeremiah says, I commented that you used the hygrometer on wood, and Jace said that you used the cheapest meter on Amazon. It wasn't the cheapest one, but I get your point. It was right in there. And didn't test any other guitars to compare it to. Now, I didn't on camera. Obviously, we can't do everything on camera, and I know people want to expect that. But I have tested probably a dozen guitars by now, and they're all within 3 to 6%. All of them were within 3 to 6%. One note I should mention, everybody says that you should just take your control cavity plate off and do it in there. But here's the thing. That thing measures by continuity, basically, that the moisture gives. And so if there's shielding paint in there, it doesn't work. It throws it off. It'll actually, you'll see when you push the meter in, it'll like peg it because it's reading the continuity of the paint. So you can't do that, actually. Just FYI, if you get this and you start doing it yourself, you won't get a good reading there. I also don't think that just because it was the least expensive meter on Amazon that it is ineffective. I think you can get good results with inexpensive gear. A Klein meter, a DMM is a digital multimeter is only like $25 and it's fine. You know what I mean? The electronics in these things is not. I think the reliability and the packaging is probably not heavy duty. So if you were doing it for a living, it wouldn't last very long. But I think the idea is pretty simple. I don't think the technology is actually that complicated, to be honest with you. Let's see. Oh, I did not give my my grandkid coffee, by the way. He drinks juice. People were asking me about that. Let me see really quick. Time spent on something doesn't always bring excellence. It doesn't. It does not. The yellow puddle under urinals. Yeah, for sure. You've been doing it a long time. Why can't you hit the mark? Okay. Some people have 1 year of experience 30 times. I'm trying to find. There's a couple in here. Your problem, quote unquote, is that you're an intelligent, reasonable person. I don't know if I'd go that far. I try to be reasonable and reasonably intelligent, but we'll leave it at that. And you have to deal with people that are neither of those things. I can only imagine how frustrating this is. It would drive me nuts. I'm glad you can deal with it better than I. So here's where I will say, here's what I'll say about that. People want to say everybody in the comments is stupid or the internet is whatever. But one of the things I always come back to on the reasonable side of things is this. The internet, when people say the internet says, the internet is just a bunch of people talking. Now, we have AI thrown in there now to give that a little bit of a curve. But for the purposes of our conversation, and we do have probably bots in here too, but for the most part, it's you and I just having a conversation in a comment section. So if you're a jerk, or if I'm a jerk, it's a person being a jerk. It's not the internet. And you have the choice. Like, think about, premeditation, like, homicide, like 1 versus 2, homicide 1, homicide 2, premeditation. And it can only take a couple of minutes or seconds of premeditation to be considered premeditation. The reason I bring that up is because you commented something, you saw something in a video, you started typing, you finished typing, and then you hit enter. You had plenty of opportunity to not be a jerk, and you chose to be a jerk. You're not the internet. You are a jerk, right? Now, that being said, I don't assume that everyone is a jerk or that no one is intelligent. I believe that most people are intelligent. And I believe that they are trying to flex somehow because of some sort of other, honestly, mental health issue. Like I don't know, maybe their dad wasn't nice to them when they were a kid, and so now they got to be mean to everybody. It's probably something like that. I don't mean to make light of a situation like that, but that's probably what it is. It's probably some sort of, just because you had an argument with your wife doesn't mean that I am wrong about capacitors, right? Just because your kid mouthed off to you before school because you didn't train him right, because your dad didn't train you right, doesn't mean, that I'm wrong about how I use this meter or what meter I bought. So I try to give people a little bit of, grace when it comes to that stuff. But if you continue to do it and you put yourself in a place where you're like, dude, you're an unreasonable ass, then that's different. But I don't think that most people are. I think most people actually like guitar stuff, but they're just flexing for some weird reason. So don't do that, Don't do that. There's no reason to flex with your comment, right? Whether it's how much experience you think you have or something you think that somebody else doesn't know. It's just dumb. It's just dumb. But we can assume that most people are probably relatively, they got where they are in life, Now there's the basement cheese puff guy who hasn't gotten anywhere in life. But most people, I think, are, they got a job. They're selling insurance. They're a plumber. They're a bug guy. They're a who knows what, landscaper. They're a engineer. They're a doctor. They're a whoever, right? And they got where they are in life. So they're intelligent enough to get there. It just doesn't show when they comment because they're jerks about it. So just let yourself be cool and don't be a jerk. Let's see. Hang on one second. I'm trying to find. There's a couple of comments in here. Comes down to preferences. Blah 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 blah. Oh, here we go. This is one of the actual challenges to me. So I'll take this one. I might be mistaken, but didn't you claim with absolute conviction just recently that the neck joint connection makes no difference to a guitar's sustain? I didn't say it with absolute conviction because I haven't done the video yet. But, and actually this has not necessarily to do with sustain, but just superiority in construction. But if you want to dive into this just for a second, I'll just kind of give you the TLDR on it. The assumption is that because you have a neck through or a glue-on joint that you're going to get more sustain than you would with a bolt-on neck, but that's just simply not true. You still have, like with a glue-on neck, you still have two pieces of wood, right? And people have this false idea that a glue-on neck is stronger than a bolt-on neck. But when you look at the tensile strength of, or not the tensile strength, the shear strength of 4 screws, like on a fender, versus, what is it, about 8 square inches of glue on a short tenon neck, which is most guitars, they're both insane, right? They're both like, it's ridiculous. It's like some kind of, the shear strength is like 4,000 pounds. It's some ridiculous number. Far beyond, so when, let's say you glue on a neck, and then you put it across 2 concrete blocks and you step on it. The glue will not fail, okay? The wood will fail. So the strength of the guitar is the wood and its ability to not break when force is applied to it. So when you step on a glue-on neck and you break it, you'll see that there are pieces of both sides of that wood that have come out and broken, and the wood has failed, the glue has not failed. So the glue has nothing to do with it. On the bolt-on side of it, arguably, a bolt-on neck is actually stronger because the way the wood clamps, if you were to do this, so let's say you were to step on a glue-on neck and break it in half, the wood would splinter probably out of the body before out of the neck, most likely, most times. And if you step on a bolt-on neck, the whole body will break, and it probably won't break right at the neck joint. It'll break a little bit away from the neck joint because of leverage and physics and stuff. Meaning, and clamping force with 4 screws and a neck plate, you can actually get more clamping force than you can with a glue-on neck. Because when you do a glue-on neck, all you're doing is putting some C-clamps on it, and you're making sure that it makes full contact, and you're waiting for it to dry, and that wood migrates in, or that glue migrates into both sides, and it creates that glue joint. Where with a bolt-on guitar, you're actually clamping the two things together with mechanical force. And you shouldn't, but people do, because they think more sustain, and actually they're just damaging their guitar. So when it comes to sustain, where sustain comes from, and I think that this is another thing where people get a big misunderstanding. When they strum a guitar and they feel the vibration in the guitar, they think, whoa, sustain, bro. But that's actually sympathetic vibration that's getting lost. Sustain comes from keeping the vibrational energy, the kinetic force of you picking between the nut and the saddle for as long as possible and not allowing it to escape. Now, if the neck joint was made out of Jello, that would help. That would be bad. But when the neck joint is solid, when the fit is good, transfer from one piece of wood to the other is going to be the same whether it's glued or screwed. There's no physics reason why it would be any different. When you take 2 objects and you hold them solidly together like this, if you push them harder or push them less, depending on the material, it's not going to make that much difference. And the strength is not a thing either. Now, and there's been some really good tests with this, and basically it's been negligible across neck through, a bolt-on neck, and a glue-on neck. There's a lot of glued-on necks actually that are just bolt-ons that are just set into the neck pocket, which at that point there's no difference. My Texas Toast Guitar Challenger is done like that. It's not. Actually, that one might actually go up into the. I apologize. That one does go up into the pocket, the pickup route. So it's like a longer tenon. But yeah, that stuff, that whole long tenon, short tenon, all that stuff, it's just a bunch of crap. So yeah, we could definitely do some videos on that. I could further prove that out, but that is largely a marketing thing, and it is as a result of it's easier to make a guitar with a bolt-on neck. It changes all of the processes, right? It changes how the guitars move through the factory. It changes time frames of everything. You don't have to wait for anything. You don't have to store a huge put together guitar for so long. There's lots of reasons why it's cheaper and easier to make a bolt-on neck. Now, that doesn't mean that it has to be cheaper just because it's a bolt-on, but anyway, there you go. Didn't you just recently claim that D'Addario did not use Suno to make that god-awful commercial? Almost everyone in the comment section claimed otherwise. Then D'Addario was forced to admit that they did, in fact, use Suno. So you were not only wrong, you were hilariously wrong about something that was obvious for pretty much everyone. And for some reason, it wasn't obvious to you, and you even felt compelled to make a video about it. Sometimes the people in the comments section know better than you. Okay. Okay, so I had to go back and find my video on this one. And there's a couple of very clear distinctions. I didn't. Okay, there's a couple of very clear distinctions here. First of all, I didn't know, and I was giving you what I felt was speculative, because I said, wouldn't it be stupid if? And I don't think they did use, because I didn't. I don't think they used Suno to compose. That's important. And I said, I think they did it in post. I think there was things done in post. So I'm going to read you the exact words of what D'Addario said. We got this wrong. We have completed a full review and confirmed that Suno Studio was used to regenerate the original track. And that's what I said. I said there's probably a good chance that they did use some AI, but what does that even mean? And the whole point of that video was to say how much AI is too much AI, right? But in that video, I said, wouldn't it be dumb if you got the shot at, and it was dumb, it ended up being really dumb. Wouldn't it be dumb if you're like, hey, Bob, you've never played on a demo before. Would you like to play on the next demo? And he uses Suno to write the song. Then he plays the song. Then he learns the song and then mimes the song in the video. That makes no sense. What it sounds like to me, what they said with their statement, regenerate. Okay, that's different. So what that says to me is exactly what I said in my video. I think the dude composed the song. Maybe he didn't get the tone he wanted. Maybe he didn't get what he wanted. But you can go to Suno and be like, take my riff and make it sound awesome. Like, whatever you want to put on it, like whatever parameters you want to put on it, and then it regenerates it. And then so all of the resulting tone and all this resulting post-production stuff and all the funky tempo changes and everything that everybody discovered in it are added or adjusted, and then therefore the naturalness goes away, and etc. That does not mean that the guy didn't write the song to begin with. Okay? And so I think that to me, now I don't agree with what they did there. I would not do that. That makes, good grief. I don't even put post-production stuff on my demos. Like, I don't want anybody to have any reason to think we faked anything, right? Like, that makes no sense. Why would you do that if you're trying to present your product? That makes no sense. So they made a huge mistake here. However, my point in making that video was how much AI is too much AI, because post-production AI is really a thing. It's really a thing. I use it every day. I use it in video editing all the time, right? So color processing and noise reduction and all that kind of stuff. I use noise reduction on my vocal, like when I'm speaking. Vocal track, like if we have background noise or something, I try to like minimize it and whatever. Now, I don't ever do it on like the playing stuff, but there's an excellent example. If you said, do you use AI in your video production for your audio? I would have to say yes, but you would literally have to dive into it and say, I don't do it on the guitar tracks, but I do it on the voice tracks, right? For example. And that's what I'm getting at, is you can't just dive into this stuff and make a blanket statement. So I'm not wrong. I wasn't wrong, because my assessment was exactly right. I thought I get that's what they did. Now, I didn't think they did it at first because I was trying to go here. Okay, let me back up on that. I will backtrack on this. I did think, because they said they didn't do it, I got to go with them. I got to believe them. Okay, cool. I'm just going to ride the wave on that. Like, right? I'm just going to be like, okay, if you say you didn't do it, what do I have? I'm not going to make a bunch of videos, like, oh, Rhett Show, and everybody's like, let me take these two videos and make them and figure it out and see if they're wrong and prove D'Addario wrong. What did that do? What did that do? Nothing. It didn't do anything. Everybody's like, I'm still going to buy strings with sweet tarts on the ends of them. I don't care. So it didn't do anything. It just made people mad. So whatever. It didn't do anything. So I wasn't going to do that. I was just going to like wait. And to be honest with you, I didn't even know that they came out with that retraction because I don't care. The point of my video was how much AI is too much AI. Apparently they use too much for their fans. But in my view, the way I read that and from what I said in the video, at least he wrote the song. I still wouldn't have done what he did. I still would probably fire that guy or put him in a job where he couldn't do that anymore. Like, look, dude, you're bagging groceries from now on. Because that is a dishonest thing to do in that context, I think. Now, there's certain times where an employee might say, hey, I used AI and it did this thing. And I'm using it for some scheduling stuff right now. And it's awesome. For some volunteering that I'm doing. I'm doing some volunteering and I need to schedule people. And I'm using AI to structure the schedule. And it's pretty awesome. And I went to the folks that I kind of like report to. And I said, this is what I'm doing. Just so you know, I'm using AI to do it. Because some people get bent about it. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's an awesome tool in that case. But I want to be upfront about it. If somebody doesn't like that I'm doing that and they need me to put more of a human touch on it, I will stop doing it and I will do it the way they want me to do it. So if somebody dishonestly or kind of tries to pull one over, that's not cool. But, how much is too much was really the point of that video. So no, I'm down. I will still stand by what I said. I will still stand by what I said. And if you disagree with my take on it, that's okay. I totally get that. That's what we're talking about here. But yeah, he got busted on that one. Well, I didn't really, but okay. Um, let's see. I'm trying to go. Let's see. I enjoy his videos, but not the parts where he talks down from his nose. Well, part of that is because I have progressive lenses now because I'm old, and so I kind of like have to go like this to see stuff sometimes. By his logic, there's no reason to talk or debate about anything because everyone has different opinions. Like every instrument is built differently, good, bad, and pickup sound and setup is subjective. So why make videos on anything at that point? I made a comment a few days ago about how guitar players should strive for a better guitar as they grow in their journey, and he made a whole video about that's a problem in the guitar community, but then agreed with it. And ironically, he said the same thing in a video about cheap guitars a week or two prior. So, this is one of those cases where I really appreciate this comment. I get what you're saying. But here's what happens. And this is why I'm not going to comment anymore on comments. Because it doesn't do anything. Because let me read the next comment by Widowbone. Yeah, he talks out of both sides of his mouth, which is fine, but own up to it instead of saying you didn't say something or that you didn't believe in X, or the dumbest one of all, the internet likes to tell me what I think. It's like, dude, there's videos of you saying that. That's why people are saying that you think a certain thing, because you've at least said it and you don't believe in something, or you just say it. This is kind of why I'll watch. But I know he's fraudulent in a lot of ways. Oh, okay. Days ago, it was, that's why I think guitars that cut costs to reach a price point like Harley Benton Firefly, I just don't think they should exist. I don't. And today he's like, my Harley Benton I got was really bad. Those two things are true. Well, actually, it was pretty good except for two things. That's actually true. Well, I'll talk about that. I can't lie. The guitar was actually really good. And the fretwork, hang on, he's quoting me here, was amazing. But if he ever causes an issue or makes people feel bad or get comment harassed, he wouldn't say sorry. He'd say, I hate that for you. I do. Which takes any blame or finger pointing or criticism and makes it so someone doesn't have to acknowledge it at all. I just think he's been used to being a small channel with a lot of people who buy his pickups and throw money his way on Patreon and live streams. And he's got his nose in the air about what he likes and what he spends his money on. I do like what I spend my money on. And that he likes everything that's expensive. And now his viewers are calling him out finally on some hypocritical BS, and he's skirting it in the name of transparency. And he's gonna watch that. And now he says things, but he's never going to address things he said before or acknowledge the majority of it. He'll point the finger at himself for some really small pedantic stuff so that he seems super transparent and genuine. Either way, though, it's just YouTube and the internet. So many people worship and white knight these people simply because they make videos. And I just always call out any channel and leave comments about stuff that's disingenuous, phony, fake nonsense. And people get mad at me. But I'm speaking up because people got to change. I get what you're saying. Okay, so let's talk about this. I think this is good, and I'm glad that this stuff has come up. So we're gonna go through a few of these things. So the no reason to talk about or debate anything. I think here's how I feel about that. I think that there's no reason to make a big deal about something to the point that you're fighting about it in the comments. Do differences matter on guitars? Absolutely. Is a more expensive pickup that performs better different than a cheaper pickup with cheaper parts and et cetera, or a Harley Benton different than an Epiphone? Yes, right? But I don't think it's worth fighting about in the comments. I don't think it's worth dying on a hill over, which is something that I've done and I don't want to do anymore. Okay. I'm going to let you have those opinions. I'm not going to play into them anymore. I don't feel like it's productive. Even though I'm not wrong in it. Okay. So you can be wrong or you can be right, and you can decide to not deal with it. Like, I just don't want to, and it's not that I don't even want to deal with it. I'll talk about anything with anybody. But the problem is it's difficult to have a reasonable conversation in the comments. And we'll get into Widowbone's comment here, because everything that he said in that comment is also true, but everything that he said in that comment is also false, because there's nuance to it that people either don't take the time to recognize, or they don't want to recognize, or they just plain ignore, right? And I think that's what happens. And so instead of trying to challenge all these little things all the time, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to buy a guitar. I'm going to do a review on it. I'm going to tell you about some capacitors. I'm going to do whatever. You do whatever you want with the information. If you want to fight about it, that's okay. If you want to tell me I'm wrong, that's okay. If you think I'm wrong, that's okay. I am not going to engage those conversations anymore, because I don't want to do what you feel that I'm doing, even when I'm not. I don't want you to do that, right? Because maybe sometimes I am. Do I egg you on once in a while because you're a dork? Yeah, because that's fun. But I want to make sure that we take, people seriously. And because this is important, guitar stuff's fun for people. Okay, talks out of both sides of his mouth. Blah, 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 blah. Let's get into this. The internet likes to tell me what I think. But there's people, there's videos of you saying X, Y, and Z. Okay, so this is an interesting one. I can change my mind. You can change your mind. Why can't we change our mind? A YouTube video from 5 years ago is not some sort of documentation of, it's not the Constitution, right? We don't need to re-ratify beliefs. Beliefs can change daily. As we learn things, we can change them daily, right? Is my stance against Harley Benton as strong as it was 2 months ago? I have relaxed it a lot, 100%. Do I totally want to go Harley Benton religion? No, but I understand why it exists, and that's an example of that, right? As I learn stuff, and there are certain things that could go either way. So sometimes, and here's the other thing, sometimes something applies one way, and then sometimes it applies another way. And sometimes two things can be true at the same time. But because it says this in this comment, and then I say this in a video, and I say this in a video, both of those things could be true, but not in each situation. Or you just clamp onto something because you're looking for something for me to say something wrong. If I ever do that, call me out on it. I'm happy to address it, because like we're doing right now, I'm happy to address it. It's really important to me to get things right. Part of the problem with this is that you're trying to be as accurate as possible because of dorks in the comments. I'm not saying you are, but I'm saying those that are just looking for things. So you're trying to be right because you don't want to be inaccurate. I genuinely don't want to spread inaccuracy, okay? But in a hobby where everything is sort of what do you want to say? There's a belief system also surrounding the facts. It's difficult to do that, and it's difficult for some people to accept. Okay. The flip-flopping that he's accusing me of on the Harley Benton stuff, I don't think Harley Benton and Firefly and ERT and all those things even need to exist. I don't think they do. I don't think they do. I think that those are, it's like basically those are your great value Walmart brand. Those are right. Okay, I get that. I get why they're there, but they don't really need to exist. We have Squire, we have Epiphone, we have whatever. Now, maybe they do in the sense that they are a price point that are far below those, and some people need that stuff. But it has been my experience that if a person is getting into guitar and you tell them with no context, you're going to need to spend $400 or $500. They go, okay. Oh, I can't afford that right now. All right, I'll save up a little bit. It's only the internet trawlers who are the people who are like looking for the cheap. That has been my experience. And I've been doing this a long time. right? Like, I mean, I've been around guitar stuff. We had a guitar store when I was a kid. I remember even in the 80s, right? People looking for the cheapest thing. But it was always, look, here's this and then here's this. If you want to save up, dude, I've lived through recessions. I've lived through bad, economies. I've lived through in a trailer when I was a kid. Like, I've been broke. Been divorced, started over with nothing. Like, come on, man. We've all been broke. We know what it's like. But when you tell somebody who wants something, they're going to get it. They're going to get it. They're going to get it if they really want it. And I really believe that. And I think it's more empowering to somebody to be like, dude, instead of settling for this thing that's if you save up a little bit more, it's going to mean a lot more to you in the long run. And so in that sense, I feel like a lot of those $200, $300 guitars don't need to exist. Now, today, my Harley Benton I got was really bad. It was really bad. It did not stay straight. The neck was not stable. And the pickup was wired wrong. It was really bad. So it was really good except for two things. But the two things made the guitar really bad. I was trying to be just to give the guitar justice. The fretwork was great and the finish was great. But the two things that were really bad made it a no-go. So two things can be true at the same time, Widow Bone. Like, two things can be true at the same time. The guitar was so bad in these two areas that it was a no-go. The rest of the guitar was really good. Two things can be true at the same time. The comment about comment harassing, I don't want you to, I hope you don't harass other commenters. If you say something to me, I don't care. One of the things that I think people don't understand is that if I don't know you, like, I don't even know what Widow Bone's real name is. So why would I take anything he says personally? I don't. There's no reason to. I have a beautiful family, and I have a really cool dog, and I have an amazing grandson, and that's where I get my, stimulus for how I feel about life from. Like, if my family started to not like me, that would be bad. But if some dork in the comments says something to me, I don't even care. Most of the time, it becomes entertainment. Sometimes it becomes entertainment because you're like, oh my God, this is hilarious. But I don't get offended. And I think people think that because I reply to a comment that I'm butthurt about it. Not at all. Ever. Never, ever, ever. So, but that's one of the reasons why I'm going to stop doing it, because I just don't want people to get that impression falsely. You know what I mean? And the I hate that for you thing, I do. I hate that for you, because here's the thing. This is the goal of what we do. What we do is have fun. We have an excellent product that improves many people's lives. And you're right. We've sold 20,000 pickups in the last 13 years or something. We sell 300 pickups a month. We really, really love what we do here. It's a family business. It's really, really awesome. We make great stuff. And I'm really proud of it. Like, my name is on it. Like, I'm really, really proud of it. And so if you clamp onto, he said this about a Harley Benton and he said this about a Harley Benton, and those were 2 weeks apart, and now I'm calling it out. And that's the negativity that you glom onto, or you assign it negativity and then glom onto it. I hate that for you, because that is not, that's not us. That's you. And that means that, like I said, I don't know, were you mad at your wife this morning, or did she do something? So yeah, I hate that for you. I really do. I wish that everybody could just get in the comments and be like, I love guitar stuff. But other parts of their life must not allow them to do that. And so yes, I hate that for you. I really do. That's genuine. And as far as the transparency thing, hypocritical BS, that's pretty funny. Yeah, show me hypocrisy. I mean, show it to me. And one of the things I think that people need to realize is that you don't know me from a thing that I say on a moment in time about one thing. And you could put the 13 years together and you could see a progression of where we've come over the last 13 years. And I'm really proud of it. The business that we've built, the community that we've built, the thousands and thousands of happy customers that we have, the hundreds of friends that we've made over the years. I know that there are people in the comment section on this video right now who are my personal friends that I've met because of this. And they will tell you I'm not some kind of jerk who is constantly trolling them, because we're friends. And I wish I could meet all of you in person. I really do. I think about that all the time. I wish I could meet everybody. I wish I could become friends with everybody. So this is not some sort of insincere sort of, he's just trying to cover up and hypocrisy. Like, that's a bunch of BS. It is. And do I like nice stuff? Absolutely. But I always say this. People that like nice stuff, like expensive stuff, can also appreciate cheap stuff. But for some reason, it doesn't usually work the other way around. You know, there's this whole thing about, you know, the whole eat the rich thing. It's like, you know, okay, yes, I can afford a $4,000 guitar. I can't really. I save up for it. But on the surface, I can afford a $4,000 guitar. Therefore, I must be some sort of snob. Meanwhile, I buy a $400 guitar, and it's awesome. But because it's not the $400 guitar that you want me to say nice things about, I hate cheap guitars. You see, that's you. That's not me. Right? And I will, now that's something I'll stick to. And I'll always stick to that. Anyway, I know this got really, really long, and I'm sorry about that, but it had to be. And there you go. Discuss.